네, 조금 전에 또 말씀하실 때 소개해 주신 분들이죠. 오늘 정말 멀리서 함께 오셨습니다. 먼저 미국 특허 상표청 안드레이 이안쿠 청장님의 기조연설이 있겠습니다. 안드레이 이안쿠 미국 특허 상표청장님께서는 휴지스 에어크래프트 컴퍼니 엔지니어, 리옹 앤 리옹 LLP 변호사, 이렐 앤 마닐라 LLP 파트너 변호사를 거쳐 현재 미국 특허 상표청 청장으로 재직 중이십니다. 잠시 무대 위로 오시도록 하겠습니다. 네, 큰 박수로 환영해 주시기 바랍니다.
Good morning. Good to see everybody. Thank you very much for that kind introduction. Thank you to Commissioner Park for the invitation to be here in Korea. Great to share the stage today with President Campinos from EPO. Quite an honor to be here with all of you. And I am very thankful to have the opportunity to speak to all of you about the importance of intellectual property in innovation and in the world economy. Our countries certainly recognize how important intellectual property is. The fact is that the progress humanity has made over the past 200 years or so, incentivized by intellectual property, is absolutely remarkable. If you think about it, where were we as a human race just 200 years ago? We would have come here from across the world, probably by ship or by horse-drawn carriage. We would have stayed here inside with candlelight. At best, there was probably no anesthesia for surgery and the like. And that is true even though humans have been on this planet for thousands and tens of thousands of years. Human civilization has been around for a very long time. Yet, only 200 years ago, the state of the human condition was about the same as it was in ancient Rome or ancient Greece and the like. But look at us now. Spaceflight and television, electricity and telephone, modern medicine, surgery, cancer treatments, instant communications around the globe with tiny devices in our pockets, and so much more. The pace of human development in the modern era far exceeds all development in all of the millennia of all human existence around the planet combined. Why is that? What has happened? Well, the answer is, I believe it is in large part due to the modern intellectual property systems around the world. Mr. Kwan, in his opening remarks, mentioned the great American leader, President Abraham Lincoln. In fact, President Lincoln said that the patent system added the fuel of interest to the fire of genius. And that is indeed what the modern patent systems have done. According to WIPO, to the WIPO Intellectual Property Indicators in 2018, around the world, inventors filed 3.17 million patent applications in 2017, an increase of almost 6%. 9.1 million trademark applications filed around the world in 2017, a 30% increase over 2016. The success of the modern IP system is clearly evident globally. But what is it that makes this modern IP system so successful that people throughout the world are willing to invest their talent, time, and finances to obtain patents or any other form of IP? There are several answers. First, I believe that IP democratizes invention. Intellectual property is the ultimate expression of global creativity and talent. Patents, trademarks, copyrights, and so on encourage this creativity because they incentivize people to share their ideas. In return, those people receive the support and protection of a strong IP system that bars no one from participating. There is no inherent gender, religious, educational, ethnic, or socioeconomic criteria required to partake in the innovation system, though we all can and should do more to increase participation opportunities across these spectrums. And the rewards for participating in innovation are not strictly economical, as they provide the opportunity for the best and the brightest among us to leave an indelible mark on humanity. Plus, IP promotes competition and forces technical advancements. Let me give you an example from 1893. 1893, when the world came to Chicago, the United States, for the Columbian Exposition. More than 27 million people gathered from around the world at that time in Chicago, at a world fair that spread around 600 acres. It was a paradise in many respects. There were many pavilions, big buildings, each one larger than a football field, and there was even a lake in between them all. And although most of the world still did not have electric power in 1893, the grounds of the Chicago Exposition and surrounding neighborhoods were illuminated at night by giant searchlights, the largest ever made. Large colored bulbs lit water fountains in the middle of the fair. All of the walkways and neoclassical buildings glowed with lights, dazzling and delighting visitors who had never seen so many lights ever in their lives. In fact, many never saw light at all. This, what was called the City of Light, was the work of the American entrepreneur and engineer George Westinghouse, backed by technology from Nikola Tesla. You see, Westinghouse beat out Thomas Edison and won the bid to illuminate the exposition, and in doing so, enabled the public to observe firsthand the abilities of AC, alternating current power. Westinghouse, though, won much more than the right to light that exposition. He won what was then called the War of the Currents. The War of the Currents was a fight between Edison and Westinghouse, between AC and DC, but it began 13 years earlier. Because after analyzing no fewer than 6,000 vegetable growths and looking around the world for the most suitable filament, Thomas Edison, on October 21, 1879, completed lots of testing with incandescent light. And soon he got a carbon filament bulb to last 40 hours, a record at the time. And then on January 27, 1880, Edison was granted US patent number 223898 for his crowning achievement, the electric light bulb. But Edison based his patented work on direct current, DC. Westinghouse wanted to compete. But because Edison had a patent, Westinghouse had to do something different. So Westinghouse worked with Tesla to come up with AC-based current. And as we all know today, the AC standard has come to be the standard around the world for the next century and beyond. So why do I tell you this story? Because I believe this famous battle between these two visions, AC versus DC, is heavy with meaning for the patent system. First, this obviously illustrates that intellectual property incentivizes and protects original innovations, such as Edison's. Edison was an experienced inventor and patent owner, and the patent system acted as a significant incentive for him to devote his many resources, not least of which were his personal time and effort, to develop the light bulb and electricity system. I don't know if he would have done that without the patent system. And second, this famous story is a perfect example of the pro-competitive effect IP has. Seeing Edison's success, Westinghouse and Tesla wanted to compete but were incentivized to create something new. Because Edison had a patent, Westinghouse and Tesla worked to create something different from Edison's. Perhaps something even better. Had Edison not patented his original technology, would Westinghouse have invested so heavily in the development of the new, alternative, arguably better technology? It is this combination of original and follow-on innovation that is the genius of the modern patent system. It creates a perpetual innovation. While Westinghouse and Tesla and Edison were American inventors, the impact of their inventions was felt worldwide and inspired countless inventors globally. We can see examples through Korean innovations, from the MP3 player to the wall-mounted drum-type washing machine, which uses AC and DC current respectively, and so much more. IP fosters human development with global impact. Take, for example, Dawon Kang. Born on May 4th, 1931 in Seoul, Korea, Dr. Kang graduated from Seoul National University, where he studied physics. And in 1955, he came to the United States to pursue a PhD at Ohio State University. After receiving his PhD, he joined Bell Labs in 1959. His research efforts at Bell Labs resulted in a successful fabrication of metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor device, commonly known as MOSFET. For those who may be unfamiliar with a MOSFET, look no further than your smartphones, which house billions of these tiny devices that deliver the powerful communications technology our lives today depend on. For this groundbreaking invention that transformed life and culture around the world, Korea's Dr. Kang was inducted into the United States National Inventors Hall of Fame in 2009. Indeed, the MOSFET device invented by Dr. Kang quickly spread internationally. And just like with so many other technologies, this technology too, when it spreads, nations experience the benefits in many ways, especially economically. Studies have confirmed that economic benefits of a well-balanced IP system are wide. This is true around the world, and it is true here in Korea. According to a recent report from the Korean Institute of Intellectual Property, a subsidiary of KIPO, IP-intensive industries generated 560 trillion won, 487 billion US dollars, or 43.1% of the country's gross domestic product in 2015. It is also interesting to note that as the number of patent and trademark filings increase yearly, so does the Korean GDP. Statistics from the World Intellectual Property Organization reveal that the total number of patent and trademark filings in Korea in 2008 was 348,000, and the GDP in 2008 was 1.4 trillion US dollars. But in 2017, these totals grew to 523,000 and 1.85 trillion US dollars, respectively. The statistics point to a noteworthy correlation. Rising patent and trademark filings associate with a rise in GDP. These trends repeat around the world. In the United States, IP-intensive industries account for about 40% of our GDP. Wages in IP-intensive industries are about 50% higher in the private sector than non-IP-intensive industries. And for startups, the issuance of its first patent increases the likelihood of its employment growth by more than 33%. Clearly, this incredibly promising data gives us reason to advocate for the case of improving intellectual property rights around the world. But for intellectual property systems to work well and support growing economies, they must be properly balanced. Importantly, the rights we issue from our respective offices must be reliable, predictable, and meaningfully enforceable. Our responsibility as IP offices is to ensure these standards, for they are what enable inventors and investors to allocate their resources rationally in the innovation ecosphere. One way to improve the work done by each of our offices is through mutual cooperation between the offices. The good news is our various offices do so in many ways. including through both bilateral discussions and multilateral forums. The USPTO, for example, is currently working with other global patent offices through intergovernmental forums, including WIPO, IP5, TM5, and ID5. And I encourage IP offices to continue to participate in important international conferences, such as today's symposium. But this week, and today in particular, I want to emphasize in particular the significance of the IP5 Forum, since this week we are gathered here in Korea in advance of the IP5 Heads meeting that will start tomorrow in Incheon. The members of the IP5 group represent the 5 largest intellectual property offices: the European Patent Office, the Japan Patent Office, the Korea Intellectual Property Office, the China National Intellectual Property Administration, and the US Patent and Trademark Office. Over the past 12 years, the IP5 offices have cooperated to implement their vision of eliminating unnecessary duplication of work and enhancing patent examination efficiently and with quality. The IP5 group is at the forefront of a global pro-innovation dialogue. I encourage the IP5 countries to continue advocating for a pro-innovation dialogue around the world. And I want to especially thank you, KIPO, for hosting this year's IP5 meeting. The IP5 offices are working together to remove various barriers inventors face when seeking to protect their ideas. Our cooperative efforts help our respective offices to improve the search and examination of our applications and provide a solid, reliable patent grant. They also save our applicants money, which enables them to invest more of their money in further research and innovation. This is especially important to inventors and small businesses and small to medium enterprises. For human advancement has been continuously pushed forward by our inventors around the world. They are all our heroes. Our IP systems must be tailored to encourage them and to protect their work. For it is our inventors that will continue to push human development to even greater heights. And they are doing so now, and they have been doing so for a long time. The world today stands on the cusp of truly extraordinary development. Machine learning, unmanned vehicles, biotechnology, personalized medicine, these are but a few examples, and we are just getting started. As remarkable as the pace of innovation has been around the world for the past few decades and 2 centuries, I truly believe that the future will be even more exciting. We really have seen nothing yet. And to foster future technologies and ensure worldwide progress and economic growth, IP offices must make available our accumulated knowledge to inventors, entrepreneurs, and researchers. The benefits are unmistakable. In a recent study of IP systems and economies around the world, Stanford University professor Stephen Haber concluded that, quote, "There is nothing ambiguous about the resulting pattern. There are no wealthy countries with weak patent rights, and there are no poor countries with strong patent rights," close quote. All of our efforts, combined with the creativity and ingenuity of global inventors, will lead to a more prosperous world. I and the United States Patent and Trademark Office stand ready to assist in any way we can as we continue to work together to encourage innovation and to create strong IP systems worldwide. Thank you again for the invitation to be here today, and have a great rest of the meeting. Thank you very much.
네, 소중한 말씀해 주신 안드레이 이안쿠 미국 특허상표 청장님께 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.